We all think of the Hall of Fame as the greatest honor imaginable. But you did not embrace this initially. How do you feel about it now?
Well, it's not that I didn't embrace it as an opportunity, as an accomplishment, as a privilege. I just didn't think I was ready for it now. I think that, for me, it's like, I don't mean it in a bad way. Like you're going out in the pasture and you're just gonna graze until you basically die. And for me, and I'm not saying that for every person, because I think a lot of people look at it in a much more prestigious, eyesight. Me, I still look at it like that. It's just that not right now. I feel like I still got so much to do. I love the game. I'm always going to love the game. I'm always going to feel like, or keep people off guard by not knowing, still play the game if I choose to play the game, and I can run with the young horses. Don't put me out grazing yet, but it's still my choice, So it seems like it sounded so finite to the end of something, and I wasn't ready for that, I'm still not ready for that.
I was going to say, even though you've had time to think about this now, clearly it's symbolic in a way that you would just rather not have.
Not now. And it's a tremendous accomplishment, don't get me wrong. I don't want to diminish that for anybody else, but for me it signifies something so finite and the end of something. And basketball is my love, always have been, and I can't ever envision an ending of something like that. That passion that I have for the game until I'm dead and gone. Until that's when it's, well, I can wait. I'm not in a rush.
When you watch games now, particularly in person, are you still envisioning yourself on the court and what you would do in those situations?
I think everybody does. I think, and I'm no different. My competitive nature, when I do watch a game, I try not to watch as much because I'm so critical, of how the game's being played, how the kids are playing the game, how I would play it totally different, that's just my competitive nature about watching the game that I truly love, and I've taken a great pride in trying to enhance while I play the game. Not that the kids are not enhancing the game. I think they're overlooking a lot of the things that in old age or in maturity I can see a lot more. I'm pretty sure Magic that way. I think Larry's that way. I think all the guys who are experienced enough to play the game get to a level where they feel like they have perfected the skill level that they can see a lot of flaws in the way the game's happening right now.
The mind is still different than the body goes.
The body is probably the biggest thing that allows us to, or makes us to walk away from the game because we can't respond physically. Mentally, I still think I'm just as sharp as when I played the game, probably even more sharper. So it's a big distinct difference. I think that I guess I was talking to Charles Oakley yesterday. I said, it's amazing about that wall continues to get taller physically, but mentally you always figure a way around the wall or through the wall or over the wall.
You mentioned Magic, and I want to mention a couple of your peers, because Magic and probably Charles, most notably Charles Barkley, they have found sort of the second career that fulfills them nearly as much, not as much, but nearly as much as their playing days. Do you worry about finding or not finding that second thing that consumes your passions like those guys have?
Nothing's going to equal basketball. And if they say what they do now equals what they did playing the game of basketball, then, I'd beg to differ about those two individuals and their competitive nature. For me, I feel like I'm the most fierce competitor there is. I don't think I'm ever going to find something to equal the game of basketball for me. Golf comes close, but even then, it's not a mastery for me in that game, as basketball was. So, am I worried? No, because I come to understand that I'm never going to find something that drives me as much as basketball did, and makes me that much more competitive when basketball was a part of my life.
As unlikely as it seems, is there anything that you wanted to accomplish on the court in your career that you didn't accomplish?
No. I can't think that, in terms of accolades or in terms of my level of the game of basketball, I felt like I enhanced it to the maximum when I retired in 1998. And I won every accolade, individually, team-oriented, things of that nature. So, I mean, when you look at that, no, I don't think there's anything out there that I feel like, okay, I left that on the table. The biggest thing about it for me was duplication, being that staying on that highest level of excellence, showing that, it's not easy to get here, or once you get here, it's harder to stay. And the challenge of staying and playing at that same level was the beauty that I saw. And I feel like if I can ever think about, what I miss about the game was being that consistent each and every day. That, every time a naysayer say he can't do this, well, I think I can prove you wrong. Yeah, I think I can do that.
Did you need to retire in 1993 to achieve that? Or when you look back, do you ever regret retiring that first time in 1993?
I never regret it. I think at that time in my life, I needed that break because I lost the desire for what the game represented. It was very commercialized for me, in 1993, where, it was great. I was on every Wheaties box and, Gatorade bottles and things of that nature, but, my passion for the game was kind of lost.
Was burnout a fair
Burnout or lost. I would say I was lost, not burnout, because I still had a strong passion for the game. I watched it with a strong passion. I was lost in the midst of so much things going around the game. And what baseball did for me was got me back to the basics of how much I loved the game, how genuine the game was, and playing with those minor leaguers, I would never change that for nothing in the world, because I think, that reinstilled some of the desires that I had when I was a kid, and it was easy to showcase that once I got back, and I didn't want it to end, and when the team was broken up in 1998, I wasn't ready to retire, in all honesty, because I felt like we still could compete and still win, but the nature of the business changed, from the Bulls standpoint, from Phil's standpoint, from Dennis, and from Scotty, and here I am. I was just there to pick up the pieces and make my decision to either stay in or rebuild or go somewhere else.
If that team had been able to stay together, was your eye on Bill Russell's number? I mean, we talk about Tiger and Jack Nicklaus and majors, championships. The only guy ahead of you out there really is Bill Russell. Did you think about that?
Well, you take it year by year. I do believe we could have won 7. I don't want to take anything from David Robinson and those guys in his shortened year in '99. But I felt like we still had a good chance if we would have kept the team together. Now, that was a big decision from the Bulls standpoint. We'll never know, but it's great for thinking, great for conversation, great for debating. But in my mind, I really believed we could have won 7. And if we won 7, then, the competitive nature would have been, let's keep going. Let's get to 8, let's get it to 9, until someone beat us, until I actually lose in the finals, which was never happened. I think we could have. I like to see us stay together.
Historically, some of the very best baseball players, guys including Joe DiMaggio and Willie Mays, they coveted the distinction of being called, the greatest living baseball player. And I wonder, as this whole week unfolds, if you care about being called the greatest basketball player ever, does that matter? Do you want that?
I don't want it in a sense, because I think it disrespects Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, all the guys that prior to me I never had a chance to play against. What everybody's saying I am, I never had the chance to compete against other legends that was prior to me. When I hear it, I cringe a little bit, because it's a little bit embarrassing, because no one knows. I never had the chance once again to play against those guys. I would love to have played against them, but I never did. And for you to say that I'm better than him, I mean, it's your opinion. It's their opinion. I accept that as their opinion. If you ask me, I would never say that I'm the greatest player. And that's because I never played against all the people that represented the league prior to Michael Jordan.
Your Hall of Fame induction this week has given everybody a chance to look back at their favorite Michael Jordan moments. Everybody has one.